Hey, everybody, it's Darren. So we got a special podcast today, an extended version. Got a guest in, Brent Gill, a comedian from Colorado. It's a little bit longer show, so stay tuned, hang in there, and hopefully you find it entertaining. We've got a lot of interesting stuff in there about the life of a comedian. This guy is a working comedian and doing quite well at it, I might say. So check it out. Let us know what you think. Subscribe, tell all your friends. The DK Project rolls on. Shut the door!
Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to tell you about this podcast. It's called The DK Project, but it's really The Darren Show. So thanks for tuning in. You're going to want to sit back, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
Let's go! All right, back. Project rolls on. Today we got Diamond Dave in the passenger seat, and we've got a very special guest today, right out of Colorado, Mr. Heavy Duty Comedian. You're working that Denver market real hard. We got Mr. Brent Gill. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking. How are you guys?
We are good. We are good. I'm excited to talk to you. We set this up so long ago, and now I'm kind of trying to get all my questions on a notepad so I don't forget anything, because I don't want to miss an opportunity to dive into the inner workings of the comedy world. I love it. So we're finding you in what, Colorado today?
Today I am. Yeah, I go back. So I'm originally from here. Started here at the Comedy Works and everything, but I moved to LA in October of 2017.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of go back and forth between here and there, doing comedy, and I still run a comedy club, a very small comedy club in Boulder every week. So I'm back every 4 to 6 weeks at least to kind of.
Now, when you say you run it, what does that mean? You're working it, or you actually own it and run it?
I own it and run it.
Nice.
It's like a business within a business. There's the place is called the Bohemian Biergarten, and they've got a back room. And I started my club in the back room, once a week. It's basically either a tiny comedy club or it's a giant, huge project of a comedy show. However you want to look at it.
Right. Nice. What? How long ago did you get started in comedy?
Oof. I started. I say that my first start date was May 6th, May 2nd, something like that, 2006.
Wow.
So May 2nd. That was my first 2 minutes at Comedy Works.
How was that? Like you just went up to an open mic or what?
Yeah, so you have to call it. The way that Comedy Works does it for their new talent night is you got to call in every week for, I think nowadays it's like 10 weeks, but back then it was probably about 6 weeks. And you just eventually after you call each week, you eventually get on and you do 2 minutes. And, and then if you're halfway decent or any decent, they'll bump you up to 3 minutes, and then you kind of get stuck there for a while until you graduate up to 4 minutes, and then you'll stay there at 4 until you get on their like junior varsity list.
So walk me through 2 minutes. Is that the longest 2 minutes of your life the first time you go up, or what?
No, it's the shortest 2 minutes ever.
Oh, really?
Crazy.
So
yeah.
you're a natural.
Well, the first time I did it, I was a junior in high school. Is the first time I did it, and then I did it at my talent show, and then I did it the senior year at talent show, and then I did it.
So you're doing comedy at your high school talent show?
Yeah,
dude,
is it hard?
Ballsy.
Is it hard to keep that clean?
So back then,
did you have to?
Like now it would be, but back then it wasn't that bad, because back then, all I was doing was writing material based off of what people already knew about me, what people knew about the school, teachers. Like, it was all like, this is a show for you,
right?
And then when I was a freshman in college, I did a one-man show in my basement in my dorm, and, and I did about an hour randomly, and I just went and knocked on everybody's door in the whole dorm, and I was like, "Hey, I'm doing a one-man show, like comedy show in an hour in the basement. Get as high and drunk as you can."
Right.
And I probably had about 50 people come down.
Nice.
And
Was that your first time, like, where you kind of felt this is it?
yeah, I mean, I kind of knew it in high school that I wanted to be in the entertainment world. I mean, I looked up to people like Chris Farley a bunch
Right.
when I was young. So I wanted to be like kind of that side of it. And comedy is just a thing that I was interested in as well. So I kind of did both. And then probably that freshman year show, I was like, I want to start doing this, like every day and go to mics and stuff like that. So then it wasn't until, so I kept writing, because in high school I did a gifted and talented class where you could do an independent study of your choosing. And mine was how to be a comedian.
Wow. You've been in it from the beginning.
Yeah, so that actually got me to do it the first time at my talent show. That taught me about how comedy works, had that option and stuff like that. And the problem was when I was first called in to do my 2 minutes, I was underage and I had to have my parents there.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it. And so then I got a fake ID in college, and I started going to open mics with my fake ID.
Wow.
And, so like the first open mic I did was actually literally right next door. It shares a wall with my current venue. At the time, it was a brewery called Redfish on just off the Pearl Street Mall. And I went there to do my first open mic with my roommate, and I did a song called Hopeless Stoner.
So is that when you started getting paid? How long until you get paid?
No. I didn't start getting paid for quite some time. I mean, it was probably 3 years in or so before I started getting any money, like $10-20 for a show. But it wasn't until a decade in, like, legitimately, I hit 30, and I was able to go full time.
Right on. So you got paid in ham sandwiches for 10 years. And
drink tickets.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was there? So then you had a real job or a job, I should say, or how?
Yeah. So after college, so I graduated college in 2008 with a film degree from Boulder. And then I moved down to Denver and I continued doing comedy. And I worked. So I graduated when the economy collapsed. So with a fucking, I'm sorry, on this.
Oh yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
With a film degree in 2008, and so I went to work at Best Buy after college.
Nice.
And then so I worked for Best Buy for a couple years, and then I went and worked at a head shop where I sold bongs and pipes and stuff like that.
You did that kind of early, but you did that before weed was legal.
Oh yeah. They were called water pipes.
Right, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
No, you smoke tobacco out of
this.
There's no
and then I was on like a seedy part of town on Colfax Avenue, which anyone who's been to Denver, they're like, oh, Colfax. So I sold a lot of crack pipes too, a lot of meth pipes. I sold it all.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I went back to Best Buy because my thought was if I leave Best Buy, I can sit in this head shop and I can write and I can do stuff. But I ended up in the parking lot getting high all day long for 2 years, and that just didn't work out. So I was like, I can't keep doing this anymore. So I went back to Best Buy. And then I sold computers at this time. So at first I was home theater, and then I sold computers, and I only worked at specific stores with specific people because they would let me off to do shows.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So like I had to work. So I would drive 40, like I would pass 3 Best Buys to get to my Best Buy just so I could have that flexibility.
That's cool.
I mean, I was pot committed from the get-go. I was like, this is what I'm doing.
The pot professor.
Yeah. And so I worked there for a while, and then I went to Apple. And
Ooh.
so I was a senior advisor with Apple Care, and I worked from home, and it was the first full-time job I had ever had, because I applied for part-time, and they said, all we have are full-time. And it was, at the time, it was like $10 more an hour than I'd ever made.
Wow.
Full insurance, benefits, 401k,
Boom.
all that shit. So, my mom kind of talked me into it because I was working from home too.
Right.
So there's
Her home or your home?
My home.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So it was pretty cool. And then I got really good at it. And then I saved a bunch of money. I saved well into the 5 figures. And I made it to a point where I was able to support to pay all of my bills on just comedy without having to touch that savings.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
Specifically to move to LA. And then if my transmission goes out, or if my, whatever the fuck happens, I have money and I'm not forced into a job again. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
So I did that for about 2.5 years before I moved to LA. Didn't have to touch it. The first time I touched that savings was when I moved. And,
that had to make you nervous as hell, huh?
Dude,
tapping into the private stock.
Phew, it sucked. I mean, granted, it cost me $5,000 to move total, like for my deposit, the first month's rent, the movers, all that shit. And I still had a lot left over, which was good. But then you go out there and you're new in this place and you're having fun. And then 3 months later, you're living a 3-month vacation and you're spending money like you're on vacation. And you're like, oh, fuck. I'm at my halfway mark where I'm supposed to be freaking out now. So things kind of changed a little bit, once you dip into there. But, from then I've built it back up to a pretty reasonable amount. Not quite where it was originally, but close.
So do you keep 2 households then? You've got full setups in both locations?
Yeah, so I pay rent in Los Angeles, but my buddy bought a house in Denver.
Okay.
And he's got an extra bedroom, and I let him when his rent went up, his lease, he knew he was buying a house, but he didn't know when. So he stayed at my house for 2-3 months, and I bought an extra bed for him and everything. So when he moved and I moved, I put that extra bed in that other room. And I've got my own room in his house.
That's cool.
That's the way to do it,
really
though.
cool.
So do you hang out with comedians then, or do you have just your normal? Because you're in Colorado, you're kicking it with your normal neighborhood guys, or what?
I don't have any friends that aren't comics. All my friends are comedians or somehow related to the entertainment world.
Okay. I suppose because you got kind of a weird schedule.
Yeah.
How many nights do you go on the road? How many nights a week or a year are you on the road?
So if I'm on the road, well, it just depends on what I want to do. I'd say about every other month, I'm actively touring.
Okay.
Is that like
I try to stay in LA at least for 4 or 5 weeks at a time, because I just, people don't know that they know that I live there, but if I'm just traveling all the time, there's no point in spending as much money as I'm spending to live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, right.
So
do you have all those bookings? You do all that yourself, or do you have a manager, or how does that work?
I do it all myself right now.
Damn.
I mean, I don't get a manager, but they need to be able to do something for me.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're going to pay them just to say so they can say they're your manager. Right.
Well, and it's weird because, a lot of people really, I have a lot of comic friends. Obviously, I just said that. But I have, it seems like these 5 and 6 year in comics, You know, they're just so dead set on, I need a manager. That's going to change everything. And then they get a manager and it doesn't fucking change a thing.
Other than they're writing the fucking manager a check.
Yeah.
That's it. That's everything. And it's crazy to me that people are so, you know, gung-ho on agents and managers.
Well, I suppose that's part of a status thing, you know. I have a manager, so I must be somebody.
It is, because you can say the words, oh, my manager or my agent while I was talking, you know, fine. But, at the same time, though, I mean, I would probably at this point in my career, I would benefit from one, and I'm not closed off to having one. I'm absolutely into it. If they're going to benefit me correctly and in the way that my career needs to be, you know, benefit. And I'll probably have a manager way before I have an agent, unless it's like a commercial agent or some shit like that, because that's completely different, because then you're just going on, you know, commercials. But, you know, as far as my career, I'll probably get a manager first. And it's like, okay, what's the goal with Brent Gill Comedy? Like, what are we doing here, you know?
Is that the overall goal then, is to, you know, be a touring comic, or is it acting and you know, LA kind of crap?
So they're one and the same to me.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, like, the whole reason I moved to LA, if I just want to be a touring comic, then I would have just stayed in Denver. You know, shit was cheap. I had great rent because I'd been in the building for 10 years. And I was the number one at Comedy Works, who was constantly in town, you know, like Josh Blue is always touring. Louis Johnson, Phil Palisol, they're always touring. So, you know, I was the guy that got all the shows. But I don't think that in 2019, I don't think that touring relentlessly is the way to do it. And like, I see, like, I get in the 80s and 90s, that's what you did. You built an act, you toured on it for fucking ever.
Right.
You know, and your career is set. Now it's very much, okay, you're funny, great. We need that. But now that you're funny, that's the least of our worries. What else are you doing? And I think the fastest way to build an audience is TV, internet, and film. And once you have an audience, you put butts in seats. And nowadays, the power is coming back to the comedian, where if you have a draw, you can fucking request an 80% door deal.
Yeah. Right.
You know, instead of a flat rate of $1,500 or whatever it is. Or if you're like a normal unknown comic like me, it's $250 to headline.
Right, and that's fucking expensive. You're traveling around the country, gas.
Right.
You're not fucking flying because that's too expensive. So you're driving from town to town to town.
I try to fly as much as I can. If it's more than 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6,
then you gotta fly.
I'll fly, yeah.
But
and plus, I love my cars a lot. Like, I'm a big car nerd, and I don't like a ton of miles on my car.
Well, your audio's kicking in and out there. Are you on the move?
No, it sounds like y'all are like getting attacked by a bear.
He was rolling his chair around.
I was moving. So this brings up a good point. Now, this car thing, this car fetish you got going on. I see your Instagram stuff all the time with drooling over all these cars. What do you have in the collection, and what are you looking for the collection?
So I'm still poor, so I will say that.
I don't know.
I have
you got 2 houses.
True. Well, that's why I'm so poor. I mean,
good point.
2 cars and 2 houses. BMW 330 Ci convertible.
Right.
And then I have a BMW X5 that I just picked up in California. I bought them both in Cali. And I'm going to bring the X5 back here. I got the X5 for just a stupid good deal. And I'm going to just put a little bit of work into it, and I'm going to flip it for almost double what I got it.
What year is that?
So that's an 01. I buy cars that are old and cheap, but still very well maintained. Like my convertible is a 04, but everyone that sees it, like, I remember I pulled into a garage in LA, and the attendant was like, "This is a nice car. What is this? Like a 14, a 15?" I'm like, "It's an 04." And he's like, damn. Like, so I take care of my cars. I believe that cars made before 2008, when the economy collapsed, like a lot of our life changed without us really knowing it.
I would agree with
and
that.
They were better back then. The metal is heavier and denser and thicker, and these fucking motors just last forever. It wasn't a buy this car and get a new one in 5 years mentality like it is now.
Yeah.
And eventually I will own a new one. I mean, by the end of my life, I will own a M3, period. I will have one of those in my collection. And, you know, I'm a huge BMW fan.
Right.
As far as like German cars go. Porsche has always been out of reach for me.
Yeah.
So I haven't really even because if I get fixated on something, I will go buy it, regardless of if it's a good financial decision.
Stay away from the Porsche dealership.
Yeah, I know where you can pick up a slightly blemished brand new Bugatti if you're looking.
For real?
Tracy Morgan.
Did you see that? Tracy Morgan drove it off the lot.
Oh, did he get into an accident?
Someone hit him on the first day.
Jesus.
They were probably oogling at who it was, and they weren't paying attention to what they were doing. And, yeah, $2 million car with a little scrape in it.
I don't care how much money I have. I am not spending $2 million on a car. Fuck no.
No way.
Well, but
Would you ever do that?
$100 million in the bank,
Yeah.
$100 million in the bank, not just just chilling in the bank.
I still got to sleep at night, though. I'd be like parking 2 miles away, you know, and it would look weird in the Walmart parking lot for me to put my Bugatti.
I know the
Hey, homeless guy with no teeth, keep an eye on this car. I don't want anybody touching it.
Right. The premise of $100 million and you got $2 million into a car, I get that, but still, it's $2 million fucking dollars.
Well, imagine
man.
what the insurance is on that bitch. The fender's like $100,000.
So apparently, when you're buying exotic cars like that, like cars over 100,000, I think it might be higher now. But you have to get a different type of loan. Like you get an exotic car loan,
right?
Which has different interest rates and stuff like that. And that was designed for cars that are like a 1923 Model T that's fully, that kind of shit where, USAA or State Farm isn't going to give you a loan on that. Like you'd have to get a personal loan and then the interest is higher and all that stuff. So it's pretty interesting. So I'd venture to say that you have like an exotic car policy.
Oh, I'm sure. And I guess if it gets down to the policy and the financing, you probably don't need it. I always say if you have to finance a toy, you really don't need it.
That's my thing, dude. Like both.
You know what the payment is on $2 million bucks?
Right.
Believe me, I was just talking to my banker earlier today.
Yeah, right.
No, I always see yes, but you're more of an old car guy. Those BMWs, man, those are tanks. I used to have an X5. That's like a work truck. But
it really is. And like I just wanted it to leave in Colorado, and I was moving, so I was like, oh, cool. I want this car. Let me get something that's easier to move my shit with.
Right.
And then because of this convertible is a 2-door convertible. Like I can barely fit my golf clubs in the trunk.
Right.
You know what though? I think if you look closely at your BMW trunk, it will show you how to get golf bags in it. My buddy used to have a 5 Series BMW, and there's a little diagram in the trunk on how you can get 3 golf bags in there.
No shit.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That is the most BMW thing I have ever heard.
Exactly. So you're saying that you're not touring as much, but I'm noticing that you were just opening for David Spade, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
How was that? That guy's a trip, isn't he?
Man, he's the best. I really, really enjoy him.
I've never heard a bad thing about him.
I don't know if I have a bad thing about him.
No. I mean, I've never heard anything. I don't. So you probably don't.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if I can think of a bad thing about him. I mean,
no.
Speaking of cars, he still drives an old Toyota Land Cruiser, like not a new one.
He's got a big car collection. He just sold. He spent $500,000 on like this 70s era silly muscle car that looked. It was the most Joe Dirt car that you could own. And I was like, man, you really are Joe Dirt. Like that's just your alter ego.
He's living it.
He's great, man. And like every time I've worked with him, he's always been really nice to me. And him and his other opener, Bobby Miyamoto, are just a great duo to work with. And, you know, every time, the last time I was working with him, well, no, this was a couple times ago, in a place called El Cajon. There was this casino there, and I ended up turning the money that I got paid. I quadrupled the money I got paid
on the felt
casino. And then Spade gave me his, because he was just going to go home back to LA. So he gave me his presidential suite. And then I went and played golf at this really nice golf course the next day.
Baller.
And shot the second best score I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
So it was just the best shit ever.
How many rounds of golf do you play a year?
I try to play once a week if I can nowadays. I was in a really bad car accident back in September.
Really?
And so I haven't been able to, you know, full on play until recently, and I'm trying to get my shit back in order now.
Are you a walker or a rider?
It depends on the course. I play a lot of mountain courses, so like even in like LA, there's a lot of ones on like in canyons and on the mountains. So I'll ride those. But there's but I have this little push cart that I freaking love that I'll walk around like a flatter, like a municipal type course.
Nice. That's cool. And you're a single cat? No baggage?
Yeah. No baggage. Well, I got a lot of baggage, but I don't have any, I don't have any, and this is a different podcast, but I had 8 years ago, I had a child. It ended up not being mine. And so I haven't officially dated anyone since then.
Oh, dude, that's a Maury Povich moment.
Yeah, it's a long story.
How long did you know?
Another podcast I did called Empty Girlfriend, and it's a 90-minute story about what happened. It was a lot to kind of take in. And,
I can't imagine that. That had to be heartbreaking.
So I don't really date anyone officially now. I just kind of have lady friends.
Yeah.
Here.
How is it after shows? Are you a popular guy after the show?
Yeah, sometimes. Here's the thing about that is for me, it's I have had some success after a show. I'd be lying if I'd be like, hell yeah, dude, crushing it. It's probably happened in 12 years, maybe 6 times.
That's crushing it in my world.
Immediately after a show. But I find that there's a fine line, especially nowadays in the current climate, that there's a fine line between a fan and someone who's genuinely interested. And I don't want to be the guy where a fan comes up and that looks the same kind of. They're touchy. They're, oh my God, you were so funny. I want to hang out with you again. I just want to be your friend. And I would hate to be like, oh, this person's interested. And then I'm like, well, let me get your number. And they're like, ew, my boyfriend's, right? Or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know. And then I lost a fan before I really even confirmed them as a fan.
So, oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's just kind of tough, the ball isn't their court. They really have to be, I don't want to say aggressively coming on to me, but it's got to be blatantly clear because I am not going to get that fucking.
Maybe you should have some type of a contract or some kind of a, something they can sign that says, I'm just along for the ride.
I swear to God, this is so true. It's painful. I'm not going to say which town either, but there was a club in Iowa I was working, and I did.
It's going to be tough to figure that one out.
Well, but there's a few of them in there.
All right.
I'll just leave part of this in there. But anyway, long story short, I had somewhat met her before the show, but she came to the show and we hooked up after the show. And when we're going to my hotel, I said, she goes, you're not going to kill me, are you? And I go, no, but you're not going to say that I raped you in 6 months, are you? You know? And she goes, no. And I go, cool. Do you mind saying that on tape? And I recorded us on video in a selfie, me being like, are you okay having sex with me?
And
you
she still
did
did.
not.
She's like, yes. And I was like, cool. And then we did it.
You did not.
Boy,
Yeah.
I hope for the sake of it that you rocked her world after that whole deal. Like,
It was pretty fun, actually. She told me to hit her up when I could come back into town, so that's a plus. But
wow,
who
so
knows?
you got to have one in every city. That's the key, man. Then all of a sudden you want to travel more. That's awesome. After this short commercial break, we'll be back with more of the DK Project. And now a word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by the Lost Lake Creamery, old-fashioned ice cream parlor, located at 5575 Shoreline Drive in Mound, Minnesota, just off the Dakota Bike Trail and the Lost Lake Channel on the north end of Cooks Bay of Lake Minnetonka. Stop in and see them today. 24 flavors to choose from. Pick up some ice cream on the way to the lake or on your way home from the lake. The Lost Lake Creamery, old-fashioned ice cream parlor.
Welcome back to the DK Project.
So, speaking of segue back to David Spade here, I see you did some work with Chappelle and Ron White. I mean, that's got to be crazy, man. Ron White is like too much. And then my question is obviously they're good dudes, but do you party with them afterwards? Like, how does that whole weekend come together, or during the week, whatever it is?
It depends on who they are. In terms of Chappelle and Ron White specifically, yes, I did, but it also depends on on the night and stuff like that as well. Both times with Chappelle, one time we went to a strip club after the show. It was me, my buddy, Chappelle, and Josh Blue, and then a couple other people. And we go to this strip club in Denver, and Chappelle's got maybe 3,000 ones. Like, he's got so many ones. And he's just giving out handfuls of ones to everybody around this table. And there were two girls on this table dancing. And he gives me a handful of money, gives my buddy Jim a handful of money, Josh Blue, you know everybody. And he goes, all right, on the count of three, we're going to make it rain.
Nice.
1, 2, 3. And we just throw probably, I don't know, $700 in the air. And I don't know if it's possible for a stripper to strip harder, but it seemed like she was stripping harder. Like, they just started slamming their ass on the ground. Like, working her heels so hard, a spark started flying, and I'm like, this is fucking nuts. And it was just debauchery from there.
So do they know what's going on then? I mean, like, did they they must recognize them, right? Like,
yeah. So Chappelle, so they knew that he was coming.
Okay.
And so we were kind of cordoned off from everybody. So like random people wouldn't come and fucking,
right. That
talk
makes
to
sense.
him.
You don't want pictures of that.
Right. And you're in a strip club, so they don't allow phones anyway. So he's a big fan of that. Anyway.
Oh, damn. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Is that a thing now? No phones in a strip club?
It's not like you can't take pictures in strip clubs.
I've been off the circuit a while, I guess. I don't know.
Well, at least when they look at me, they're like, you look like you're going to take a picture.
Keep an eye on that one.
I've got the tap on the shoulder in the strip club before and put the phone away.
So that was Chappelle. Really? And then the other time with Chappelle, we went to this with Ron White in the same night. And then I have another Ron White story. But we went to
Did you get a ride on the plane?
No, my buddy has. My buddy's opening for him right now. Like this whole summer, he's opening for him.
No shit.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's so. Does Ron White stroke the check then on that deal? Like he just pays you, or your buddy?
Yeah, it's all out of Ron White's pocket.
Wow, that's awesome. He's a big roller. So
Yeah.
what did you guys do then? Did you strip clubbed or
So
what?
Ron owns his own tequila company.
Yeah. What is it? Tequila
And so
One
we
or
just-
something?
Number one, yeah.
Number
and so
one.
we just drink heavily
We just drink tequila.
at the club. The thing is Ron doesn't like to go out. Dave does like to go out.
Oh.
So, like, depending on who the company is, Ron will go out. Like, Ron went out to a place with Dave, and we were, kind of, because we go to places that we can get. Because all comics, like, it doesn't matter what level you're at. We're all doing the same shit. We just want to go to a quiet place and talk shit about other comics.
Yeah,
Basically,
right.
what we want to do. And so Ron likes to, like, this past time he was here, I was headlining the Comedy Works South, and he was doing his spots downtown. So I came up after my show and after his, and we just chilled in the green room till 1:30, 2, just drinking and shooting the shit, smoking weed. It was, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's got to be weird though, man. He's like your dad's age, isn't he?
He reminds me of my uncle.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah, because my uncle's kind of a partier too, and but still gets shit done and still has nice taste. So it it kind of reminds me of hanging out with him.
That's
But
crazy.
He's got fun stories too, and he has no shyness about telling his stories.
Oh, I know, man. I could only imagine. That's crazy.
It's pretty cool.
How do you get hooked up with that? Like, how did you get into that mix?
So with Chappelle, he came to the club, to Comedy Works, and this was back when I still lived here. So, when Chappelle's here, Josh Blue will always open for him. And if Josh is out and on the road, then it gets opened up to the rest of the list. And if it gets opened up to the rest of the list, like the roster, she spreads the love around. So, like, even when Dave's doing 2 shows a night, she'll have one comic do the first show, one comic do the second show, which she never does. It's just so everyone can get that moment and that stage time and that credit of opening for Dave Chappelle.
Oh, sure. It can't hurt.
That's pretty sweet.
It's pretty dope, yeah. And then Ron White came in on one of the nights. So the night that I was opening for Chappelle, the first night I opened for Dave, Ron White came in and he was doing the theater the next night. So he came in early with legendary jazz saxophonist Gerald Albright and his wife, and came in on the Dave Chappelle show. So I did my set. I did 15 up top, and then Ron White did 15, and then Chappelle did about an hour. And man, just one of the moments in my career that I'll never forget.
I was going to say, that's a pretty serious dance card right there, man. Wow.
Yeah, is that whole night. But the interaction I had specifically with Ron White on stage, I had introduced him. He was walking on stage. He gets a standing ovation when he's walking on stage. And then he pulls me, like, back and just kind of, like, whispers in my ears, like, hey, that was a very excellent set, good job. And I go, I thought it was standard shit. I was like, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Wow.
And, whatever. And then he pulls me closer. Still, everyone is standing and applauding him. And he has his back to them. And he looks me in the eye and goes, I'm serious. It was an excellent set. You have a good career ahead of you in this business.
What's better than
like,
that?
Yeah, like goosebumps.
What is better than that?
Awesome.
That is. How long ago was that?
That was my 10th year of comedy.
Wow.
Everything, like literally everything huge happened for me thus far when I was 30, so about 3 years ago.
All right. So now you just have these guys in your Rolodex and you can, hey, I'm in town. Let's get after it, or what?
Yeah, I mean, shit. Now that I'm in LA, those two specifically stop in LA a lot as well. So, I'll go, hang out with them if I can at the comedy store and shit like that. And
is that a different set though? Like you do your normal shtick and you've got your normal color, with Denver set or whatever. But then Chappelle's in the house or Ron White or whoever. Are you feeling the pressure? Like, I got to take this to the next level, or is it just another night at the office?
I mean, it is another night at the office, but you're definitely not going up there and trying new shit. Like you're going up there and doing the shit, you know. And that's kind of the only difference is like it's strict A game only on these shows.
Wow.
Do you feel that writing is becoming easier for you, or the same or harder as it was when you first started?
I think writing's always been hard for me personally.
Right.
I always had my performance, like from the get-go, like in high school. The performance aspect was never an issue. It was the material that I struggled with. And so I think it's the same level of difficulty. It's just a different type of difficulty because now I understand, you know, how my jokes work and how my jokes flow and stuff like that. But I'm in Los Angeles now, which wants different type of stuff. And it's 2019. So there are some shit that I find funny, and I'm sure most of us would find funny. But you have that one social justice warrior that's trying to fucking,
how much do you let that play a part? Like I do some radio stuff and I do this, and I've lost some friends over the deal because they get offended by what you say. And it's like, everybody's so sensitive, and it tends to be this millennial package that, you can't say anything. So how much does that affect what you do? And when you're coming up with new material, like, oh, I got to soften that up, or I can't say that. I mean, obviously,
it definitely affects me.
What's that?
Absolutely. Like it definitely affects me a lot, and it affects a lot of comics. And I would say that I definitely do try to stay away from some things. But other things I get hell bent on. I'm like, no, this is funny, and I'm doing this, period. And I think that people are getting, it feels like they're kind of loosening up a little bit.
Hopefully, man. Because, you say the wrong fucking thing, you get famous for 15 minutes, and then you're blackballed from everywhere.
Right. And I think that a lot of it is you're going to a comedy show. Be prepared to be offended or get the hell out. I mean, isn't that why we're here?
And also, too, we are making jokes. Like, we are specifically, anything that comes out of our mouth, it is intended to be funny.
Right.
And if it's not funny, sometimes that happens. We have to try it somewhere.
Well, let's
mean?
hear the. That's a nice segue. Let's hear the story where you ate the bag of shit on stage. You can't say that for your career you've had flawless sets every time. Let's hear about that one you'd love to forget about, because somewhere somebody has it on tape and it is embarrassing.
Oh,
what do you got?
Yeah. Well, I had one of them for sure, and then you said that tape thing, and I was like, oh, I got another one for you. So the first one, I was very young in comedy. I was still in college. So this was 2006, 2007. And some lady pulled a gun on me after I did an abortion joke.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Was this pro-abortion or against abortion?
First of all, let's hear what side you were on.
I mean, I think it was definitely probably for abortion,
right.
Knowing me. But
so how does that go down? You just beat her ass and walk away?
Well, no, because I was still on stage, and she pulled the gun as she was walking towards the stage, and then their door people and other comics, got her and got her out. But she was not.
Wow.
In fact, my friend is the one that told me this. Spencer James is the one that told me that this bitch. He said she pulled an Uzi out, what? like a fully automatic Uzi, and I'm like, good lord.
And you didn't see it.
But this was back in 08 or 07, 06. I mean, things were different.
That was before all this weird shit was happening. Yeah. So then you started wearing the flak suit on stage, or what? To return the friendly? What's the one on video?
So the one on video, this is so fucking
because that was just weird. That wasn't like you eating a bag of shit. That was a freak occurrence is what that was.
Yeah.
We want to hear about you bombing.
So the one where I'm bombing, let me see if I can find it again. Hang on.
Are you Googling yourself?
Yeah, well, because I can't get rid of this video. I can't get rid of this video. I went.
We got to forward that to the project.
It's the fucking word. There it is. Yep. It was a joke about Nebraska, and I did this in at the Ice House in Pasadena.
Okay.
And I did, and they were taping it for this station called ComedyTime.tv, which they give you $25 and you sign your rights away to it, and it's their like recording. Still my joke, they're recording. So
Right.
the joke isn't the greatest, but it's not that bad. It's basically, I went into, I was doing some shows in Nebraska, not to brag, and I crossed their state line, and their state line, like their welcome to our state sign says, "Welcome to Nebraska, the home of Arbor Day." And I'm like, Arbor Day is a tree holiday. How are you claiming to be the home of a tree holiday when you have no trees? And then I go through this whole thing about how flat Nebraska is. It's fine. It's kind of stock, but whatever. Admittedly, this was not my best performance of the joke. And I will say this, I do not do this joke in my act anymore. Now, I am Googling myself. I'm Googling myself as I'm one to do. And I find this video and I was like, oh, Comedy Time, cut this clip up. And I watch it and I'm like, oh, I don't really like this performance. And I'm scrolling down, I'm reading the comments, and because there's a bunch of comments on this video, and I'm like, this is weird. And this guy posts on here, he goes, this video is not funny, and none of the videos that Comedy Time produced or posts are funny. So then Comedy Time, responds. And they go, while I agree this particular video isn't funny. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why did you put this on your site then if this isn't funny to you?
It's just out there on the interweb.
And then they get into an argument. They get into a comment argument for like 8 or 9 comments down on this video of mine. And I can't get them.
Was that you, Dave?
Is that the video?
Yeah, I accidentally hit. I didn't mean to start. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, yeah, it's fine. Like you can see the comment battle on there, and it's
That's what I'm looking for.
So it just kept digging it in deeper, huh?
And I can't get rid of it because when you comment on it, it makes the algorithms think that this is a better video because it's getting more heat. And I can't fucking get rid of it. I've asked them to take it down. I've said, hey, you even admit this isn't a good video. Why are you doing this to me?
That is too much. How is that when you're on stage, though? People aren't like booing or anything. They're just not laughing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And basically what it is on stage is how this joke normally does.
Yeah.
And it's not doing that. So you're like, uh-oh. So then like
and you start to sweat a little bit.
I start getting a little sweaty. I start getting a little hot. And then my technique, if I don't think it's going as well as it should go, I pump up my energy a little bit and I'll like start performing the shit out of it.
Can you turn a bad room into a good room?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I kind of like that joke. When not to backtrack for half a second, but when I was watching some stuff before we did this, I saw that joke. And by the way, I do appreciate you teaching me about dab too. That's quite. I had no fucking idea what that was. I haven't smoked pot since my senior year of high school. Darren was
I'm just trying to educate the masses.
Yeah,
that's all.
Darren was telling me because I had a buddy trying to get me to try pot again, and Darren was saying there's no way you should do it now if you didn't do it well back then.
Oh, yeah.
48. I mean, it's way too strong.
If you didn't do it well back then don't do it now. Or just get some CBD stuff or some like 1-to-1, some low, like, I don't know, 10%.
But we're talking JV back in whatever, 02, 03, whatever. I don't know. I graduated a long time before that. But where we're at now with the level, it's like, you just bump into that shit in your high. You don't even need to like get after it. It's real deal. I mean, we've come a long way. And being that you're right there in Colorado, I was just watching Rogan, and he had the Wiz Khalifa on there. And Wiz Khalifa says he smokes an ounce a day.
I don't believe that.
I don't either.
Is that even possible?
I don't believe that.
Like, what's the standard intake?
He buys an ounce a day, and him and his boys smoke it all.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's probably what I missed the disclaimer there that's my crew that blows through an ounce.
It's got to be. Also, too, like there is blunt weed out there where it's just like low THC and it's like meaty. It's like mids. It's like what you got in college and high school.
And that's got a little tobacco in it, doesn't it?
No, not necessarily. Like if you're buying outdoor weed from like Northern California, like the Humboldt Triangle area.
What is outdoor weed? Is that not from a store?
No, outdoor weed is grown outside as opposed to grown inside. Indoor weed is much stronger than outdoor weed is.
Oh my! All right.
But
On today's Weed Corner,
you are the fucking weed professor.
I know way too much about weed. I used to grow weed for about 5 years. I did a podcast early in the podcast world called Marijuana Radio, and like you can't even find that shit now.
How excited were you when it became legal?
I was not excited at all.
Why? Because then everybody will do it, or what?
Because now it's not the novelty of it is gone. I was also like growing it and selling it by the eighth, so I'm making a ton of money off of growing it, and now it gets legal and cheap. So why would anyone want to come to me?
But don't they tax the shit out of it?
Oh yeah, they do. But still, it's easier because I can just go to a store on my time instead of having to meet. And they're
everywhere. Yeah, to make the arrangements in a parking lot for a black van.
And then too, it's gonna get it was the start of the government controlling weed, and it's never gonna end now. Once it's legal, there's like you think this 30% THC fucking weed that's coming out now is gonna be legal in 15 years. When the whole country legalizes weed, you think that they're going to allow some shit that gets everybody fucking ripped roaring retarded? Absolutely not. They're going to have THC caps that they have to like
limiters. I didn't even think of that. I suppose
like it's all this regulation and Monsanto and Camel cigarettes and all these corporations are coming in and ruining it, and all the mom and pop shops that were just trying to make money are bought out or run out of town or whatever it is, and it just I watched it happen, and I didn't like it personally. Wow.
Today on the Weed Corner, we've got purist Brent Gill in, who's totally against the man taking his weed down. That's interesting. I guess I never thought of that, but yeah, they're only going to allow so much THC in there, and then they're going to, but I guess you could buy Everclear.
Well, yeah, but like kids are going to get their hands on it, period.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like, that's the biggest problem.
So it's 34%. Like I think the highest I've ever seen was 34%.
Yeah,
and that's ridiculous. Like I'm happy with something that's like 15 to 22.
Yeah. I have to say though, I could relate to you. I've been off the sauce now for a while. I went through a medical thing where I just chose not to drink or party or anything. And but I have to say, I saw one of your Instagram posts that really took me back. I think you were on a train or something, and you're like, I'm so pissed at my friends. They say I'm too fucked up and I'm getting belligerent and they won't talk to me or anything. I'm like, God, that's me on any given day if we go back in time. Man, you were on a train, weren't you?
Yeah, so we were doing a comedy festival in Trinidad, Colorado, and it's exactly halfway between LA and Chicago on the Southwest Chief Amtrak line. Oh. And one of the sponsors of the festival has a family history in trains, and so he kind of sponsored it and stuff like that. But they trained most of us out from LA or Chicago, and the LA crew got me and David Borey got fucking wasted. They got drunk, but we got plowed. And I almost got thrown off the train at like 11:30 at night or something like that.
Oh boy.
Apparently, I fell down a couple times that I wasn't aware of, but the train's moving and shit, so it wasn't fair.
That's not all your fault.
Yeah, you can't be
like,
expected to maintain balance on a moving train.
Right.
Come on.
But also, too, you're 34 years old. Let's not get so drunk you're falling down.
Right.
Yeah,
probably.
That's true.
I've been there though, many times.
We've all been there.
Also, I will say this: we were on the train for 23 hours.
Oh, I'm drinking. No way.
Right. So
I'd probably still be doing that if my wife wouldn't say, "Hey, asshole, you know what you did last night?" So when that started happening too much, I decided maybe I better pump the brakes a bit, because that blackout and fall down and get nuts thing happened a little too often. Nothing wrong with that, though. Hey, we do a thing. We got to wrap this thing up. We're getting on an hour here. I could talk to you all night, but
we're
gonna have to cut it and reconvene another day. But we do this thing on the show where we let you put together a sit down. So if you've got a table for four, one of them being your spot, and you got to fill 3 spots with anybody you can pick, from dead, alive, political, whatever. Who are you gonna pick? You get 3.
Bill Burr and Patrice O'Neill for sure would be there.
Have you met Bill?
I have met Bill. I got drunk with Bill before he stopped drinking.
Well, I think he's on a temporary stop. It's not permanent.
He might be drinking again. He goes back and forth.
Yeah, right.
Actually, it was me, Brian Regan, Bill Burr, and the owner of Comedy Works, Wendy Curtis, after a show one night. And I've never seen Wendy Curtis drink, and she was ripping shots with us. That was another high point of my career. Very, very young in it. I didn't belong there, and I was allowed to be there, and it was fucking cool.
That's awesome. How long ago was that?
That was when Bill Burr was still in clubs.
When Bill still had hair?
And he had hair. I would say, 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
How cool. That's cool. Brian Regan, those are all good dudes. I mean, really, that Brian Regan's got a different little show out right now, but I'm trying to figure it out. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, he was due for a show.
He's got to be a funky dude to hang out with. He's on a tour bus. Do you ever do the tour bus?
No, I don't. I have not yet.
Yeah, that's so let's finish our thing here. We'll make that one, because Patrice and Bill are
kind of the same.
They could sit on each other's lap.
I mean, we know who would be on whose lap. That's for sure.
Those are your words, not mine.
I would say from there. God, this is so eclectic. But
I probably should have gave you a heads up when we spoke yesterday, but I forgot.
That would have been good, but this doesn't make any sense. But for some reason, I would love for Cleopatra to be there, because I just want to meet her.
That makes killer sense.
Does it?
That is excellent sense. I can see why.
Well, let's clarify here. I'm sure Brent hasn't listened to all the episodes, but I think Dave picked Robert Johnson in his group.
I did.
At the Crossroads.
That's a good one.
So him backing you on Cleopatra makes total sense to me.
Yeah, that does.
All right, you got one spot left, man. It's the hot seat. Who are you going with?
One spot left. I would probably, let me think here.
Unless you care to elaborate on the Cleopatra thing, that is nuts.
I also think it'd be interesting to hear Bill Burr and Patrice and Cleopatra talking to each other. Especially Patrice and Cleopatra. I would say the last one would probably, I could see it being like a Chris Farley type character.
Sure.
It would be someone whose career exploded so quickly, and they didn't or did handle it well. Like, I'm curious, like, that interests me. Like, the whole thing about Farley trying to, like, looking up to those, Belushi and Candy and all those guys.
Yeah.
That shook me. a little bit because he was like, apparently, and I got this off of that Adam Sandler special, but apparently he was like, yeah, I want to be like those guys, so of course I'm gonna go out like them.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you got to calm it down. And he's like, why? This is what I want,
Right.
And that just, I'd love to talk to him now.
Did you ever get to meet him?
No, I didn't. I was way too young when he died. He died when I was in high school.
Oh, I just saw. Did you see Sandler's bit on Saturday Night Live? That song he did.
Yeah, so he did that in a special too.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really, really. I don't want to say caught me off guard because someone I saw it afterwards. Someone had already mentioned it. That's how I found it because who the hell can watch Saturday Night Live? But they, it was really a pretty cool thing, and it was totally out of the blue. Like who was expecting that? So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that would probably be a seat that I would have too. I think that's pretty interesting. But
I would want him now after he died. Like I would want him with the knowledge that he has now.
Well, and he was on the heavy shit, wasn't he? Like he wasn't recreational.
He was heroin and shit like that.
Yeah. Him and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That's a shame.
Going big, man. That's crazy. What do you think about the comedians that I really tend to follow podcast wise, and I've seen a bunch of their shows is Pete and Sebastian. Do you know of them?
Pete Holmes?
No, Pete Correale.
I know the name. I don't know him that well. I know
he's an East Coast dude.
And I worked with him a couple times at Comedy Works before he got big.
Yeah.
And the thing that baffles me about Sebastian is that he started, like legit started in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, he was working at the Four Seasons.
That's just like, what? Who starts here? I just can't imagine. Now, granted, there was a different time and stuff, but the idea of starting it from scratch with no experience in LA seems awful.
Really?
It's a daunting freaking deal.
It's that much harder of a market in LA. Is that just because there's so many people out there?
You get a bad first impression, and then you're done.
Yeah.
For a decade.
That's true.
Like they'll see you a year and a half in and be like, oof, and then 6-8 years later, they see you again randomly because they were there to see someone else. And they're like, damn, he's gotten good.
Yeah.
And it took you 8 years to get there. Whereas if me, I've got 10, 12 years of comedy in Denver before I moved. So then I come there with all this experience I have, and the learning curve's way faster because I'm already
more
funny.
Polished. Yeah. What about? I'm already funny. How do you? Dave and I were talking about this before we got you on the phone. How do you do that many shows in Denver, in the Denver area? Are there that many? How do you say that? Are there that many new people coming to town? Are conventions or like where? How are you packing the house every that often?
Like in my Boulder show, you mean?
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for 6 years. We just hit our 6-year anniversary.
Yeah. And you're doing it once a week?
Yeah. 2 shows a night, once a week. One at 7, one at 9:15. We will sell out the first show. Second show normally gets about 60 to 90. Sellouts 100. And then that's gotten national recognition. So people across the country come and want to do the show because they know about it. And then for me specifically doing shows, I mean, I'm a pro at the Comedy Works. So when I come back in town, she gets me sets and everyone else will have me on their, independent shows and stuff like that. Cause I'm, out there doing my thing.
Nice.
Very cool.
That's so cool. Hey, one last question. Not that I want to continue to prey on the comedians, but have you ever spent any time with Bert Kreischer? Yeah.
I have not, no. Spent some time with Tom Segura.
Nice.
And he's amazing as a human being as well, but never with Bert Kreischer.
That is what I've heard. Everybody raves about him. I think it's interesting. I've actually seen probably enough shows now to consider myself a seasoned critic of comedy because we travel. I go to Chicago and we've been all over the place checking stuff out in Florida and getting on it. But you got to get to Minneapolis, man. Although I could come to Denver.
Right, I go to
like
Denver.
that idea.
I'd love to come up there. That'd be pretty sweet.
Get after it. I got some calls into the boys over at Acme. We'll get you in there and get some shows going. That's the hot spot. Rick Bronson's here too, but he's at the mall, which the mall. It's a good show though, or a good location, I should say.
Yeah.
So, but we'll have to wrap this thing up and reconvene. You got any shows coming up you want to plug?
I do. When does this come out?
This will probably come out late tomorrow or Saturday, depending.
Okay. So I have tomorrow, which is Friday the 6th. Where am I at here? It's Friday the 7th. I'll be in Los Angeles at a place called the Blue Rooster Cat on a show called Faded, which is one of the better shows in town. It's every time I've gone there, it's just been a fucking blast. So I'm excited about that. So that's this Friday.
What is Faded about? I saw that.
Getting wasted.
Oh, is that it? Yeah. Oh, is that it? Is that one of these trendy young phrases we use for getting wasted?
Yes.
Faded?
Yes.
Dave's looking at me like he knows this shit. You must have just Googled it. You don't know nothing. So, all right. So Faded tomorrow night. Then what?
Yeah. And then every Sunday and Monday, I run shows in Highland Park and in West Hollywood. So on Sundays, the show is at the Arroyo Seco Golf Course, and it's just called the Arroyo Comedy Show, and that's at 7:00 on Sundays every week. Every Monday is in West Hollywood at a place called the Kibitz Room, which is in Cantor's Deli, which is kind of a famous Jewish deli, and that's at 8:30 on every Monday. And then next weekend, the 14th and 15th of June, I'll be opening for Taylor Tomlinson at Flappers in Burbank. Yep, nice. I love her.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then so I'm pumped about that one. And then of course I got my Sunday, Monday shows, a couple shows that I don't really care to advertise. And then I'll be at the La Jolla Comedy Store down in San Diego with Josh Blue on Wednesday, July 17th.
Nice.
And then there's a 90% chance I'll be at the Des Moines Funny Bone on July 18th, 19th, and 20th with Taylor Tomlinson again.
Ooh,
very cool.
We can make
we might
that.
have to road trip that.
We can make that. Although I'm guessing you're going to be busy that night, Brent?
That's
not saying. I'm just saying.
I don't know if that was the town. There's a lot of towns in Iowa.
Yeah, there's a lot of towns in Iowa with comedy clubs. That's awesome.
But always, you can, if you follow me on Instagram at I am Brent Gill. I am most active there. I am second most active on Facebook, which is just Brent Gill Comedy, and then my website if you want to check out some videos or a halfway updated calendar. That is BrentGillComedy.com.
I like it.
Excellent.
That's so cool, man. Hey, I'm gonna circle back around with you when I get to Denver and see if we can't get to a show and see the magic happen. I like it. Otherwise, that'd
be great, man. I love it.
That Des Moines trip is looking pretty damn good.
I'd do that.
That isn't too far.
It could be fun.
I like it. Well, I can't thank you enough for the time. Like I said, we'll circle back and check in on you from time to time and see how things are going, man. Good luck to you, and we'll be in touch.
I appreciate it. Thanks, fellas.
All right, take care, Brent.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it. That's the end.
That's a wrap.
Read the shtick.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends. If you'd like to reach out, you can use the studio line at 612-504-6500 or by email, thedkprojectpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, there's always social media at the DK Project Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.